Welcome to the Sci-Fi Continuum. I'm Stan, your narrator. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for more stories. Having a bounty on your head is usually a point of pride for a star pilot. It means you are fast. It means you are clever. Above all, it means you have done something to annoy the wrong people. But having a bounty on your genetic material is a completely different kind of professional hazard. Sammy Cairns sat in the cockpit of the Wanderer's Det, watching the fuel gauges crawl toward the full line. He was a man built like a heavy-duty cargo lifter. His shoulders were broad. His jaw looked like it had been carved from a piece of planetary bedrock. He had a reputation for being the kind of pilot who could fly a brick through a supernova and come out with nothing but a slight tan. Humanity was at the top of the galactic food chain. It wasn't because humans were the strongest, though they were close. It wasn't because they were the smartest, though they were certainly the most creative. It was because humans were, quite literally, the most compatible species in the history of the stars. In a galaxy full of specialized, fragile humanoids, a human man was the ultimate prize. Sammy's recent medical scan had made things worse. Much worse. The report had leaked from a high-security hospital on Vega Prime. It claimed Sammy's DNA was optimal. It used words like hyper-adaptability and universal fertility. To the alien reproduction initiative, Sammy wasn't just a pilot anymore. He was a walking, talking treasury of future generations. "Just 10 more minutes," Sammy muttered to the empty cockpit. 10 minutes and we're back in deep space." He was at a remote refueling station on the edge of the Thorn sector. It was a quiet place, or it should have been. Suddenly the lights in the cockpit flickered. A deep humming vibration shook the hull of the ship. Sammy reached for the controls, but his hands froze when he saw the monitor. A localized warp field was forming. It wasn't coming from outside. It was bending the space right inside his cabin. "Nope," Sammy said, reaching for his sidearm. He was too slow. A flash of white light filled his vision. The sensation of being pulled through a straw took over his body. When his eyes finally cleared, he wasn't in his pilot's seat. He was strapped to a tilted metal table in a room that was far too clean. The walls were a polished clinical white. Metallic accents lined the ceiling. Overhead panels cast a bright, even light that didn't leave a single shadow. Sammy tried to move his arms. He found they were held down by bands of glowing blue energy. His legs were pinned too. "This had better be a very strange dream," Sammy grunted. He looked up and realized he was not alone. 3 women stood in a semicircle around him. They were striking. Their skin had a deep, distinct purple hue. They all had long, wavy blonde hair that fell over their shoulders. Each one wore a crisp white lab coat. The coats were left open, revealing their upper torsos and the swell of their breasts. Their lips were painted with a bold, bright orange lipstick that contrasted sharply with their purple skin. They were Leia. Sammy knew the species. They were known for their physical toughness and their relentless scientific curiosity. They were also known for being the only species that could actually track a human pilot when they put their minds to it. The woman in the center leaned forward. She had green eyes that seemed to analyze Sammy down to the molecular level. She offered a subtle, confident smile. "Specimen 401-Alpha, she said. Her voice was like silk. "Or do you prefer Sammy?" "I prefer Your Majesty," Sammy replied despite his situation. "But Sammy works if you're in a hurry." The woman to his left leaned in. "I am Donna," she said. "The one in the middle is Salen. To your right is Nika." Nika, the third woman, adjusted a floating holographic display. "The data did not lie," she whispered. "The symmetry of his facial structure is nearly perfect. Look at the bone density." Salen, the central woman, ran a gloved hand along Sammy's forearm. "He is much larger than the average human. The muscle fibers are dense. Almost dangerous." "Only if I get these straps off," Sammy said. He gave her his most charming, lopsided grin. "Which, by the way, is a bit overkill. We could have just grabbed a drink." Nope, Saline said firmly. You are a priority 1 asset, Sammy Karen. You have evaded the initiative for months. We could not risk a traditional approach. Asset? Sammy scoffed. I'm a pilot. I fly things. I don't just sit on tables and look pretty. Donna moved closer. She reached out and touched the side of Sammy's neck. Her fingers were cool. According to your genetic profile, you are a once-in-a-millennium match. Your DNA can stabilize almost any humanoid lineage. You are the key to the survival of the Leia nobility. That sounds like a lot of responsibility, Sammy said. I'm more of a deliver the cargo on time kind of guy. The 3 women began their research protocols. It started with scans, but it quickly became much more personal. They used small, high-tech devices to measure the heat of his skin. They checked his pulse by pressing their fingers against his throat and his chest. Nika unbuttoned the front of his flight shirt. She didn't seem to care that she was exposing his chest. His heart rate is increasing, Nika noted. Her green eyes flitted to the monitors. Is he experiencing fear? That's not fear, sweetheart, Sammy said. His voice was dropping into a lower, more confident register. That's just what happens when 3 beautiful women start unzipping my clothes. Donna leaned over him. The opening of her lab coat offered Sammy a very clear view. Her purple skin was smooth. Your species is famed for its charisma. It is said that humans can talk their way into or out of any situation. Try me, Sammy said. We are curious, Salin said, stepping forward again. She looked at him with a mix of obsession and caution. Humans are also known to be the most dangerous predators in the sector. You are physically stronger than us. Your reflexes are faster. If we release you, what happens? Sammy looked her in the eyes. He stopped joking for a moment. He let them see the alpha that the galaxy talked about. He made sure they saw the warrior beneath the charm. If I wanted to hurt you, Sammy said, his voice deep and steady, I would have found a way to break these energy bands the moment I woke up. You're scared because you've heard stories about humans taking over entire planets, but we only do that when we're bored. Right now, I'm not bored. I'm just intrigued. The women shared a look. There was a palpable tension in the room. They were obsessed with his DNA. They wanted him for their research and their future, but they were also genuinely intimidated by the man on the table. You speak of intrigue, Nika said, but you are a prisoner. A prisoner can't give you what you really want, Sammy said. You want optimal results, right? You want to know why human DNA is so special? It's not just the biology. It's the drive. It's the passion. You can't bottle that in a lab. You have to experience it. Salin stepped closer. She seemed the most affected by his words. She reached out and traced the line of his jaw. You think you can charm us into letting you go? Nope, Sammy said. I think I can charm you into wanting to be my partners, not my jailers. Think about it. The initiative wants to lock me away. They want to treat me like a breeding animal. Is that what the 3 of you want? Or do you want to see what makes a human man the most coveted prize in the galaxy? Donna looked at the monitors. Then she looked at Sammy's bare chest. The initiative protocols are very strict. Forget the protocols, Sammy whispered. He focused all his attention on Salin. You're the one in charge here. I can see it. You don't want to follow a manual. You want to see what happens when the specimen becomes the master of the house. Salin's breath hitched. She looked at the console near the table. Her sisters, Donna and Nika, watched her with wide eyes. They were shocked, but they didn't stop her. Salin's finger hovered over the release. If I do this and you turn on us... I won't, Sammy promised. I'm a man of my word. I'll give you a night of research that you'll never find in a textbook. And when it's over, we'll talk about the future. With a sudden, decisive motion, Salen pressed the button. The blue energy bands vanished. Sammy didn't move immediately. He didn't lung for the door. He sat up slowly, stretching his massive shoulders. He heard the joints pop. The three Leia women retreated a step, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and anticipation. Sammy stood up. He was a head taller than any of them. He reached out and caught Salen by the waist. He pulled her toward him. She gasped, her hands coming up to rest on his bare chest. "First lesson in human genetics," Sammy said. He looked over at Donna and Nika. "We don't like to work alone." He leaned down and kissed Salen. It wasn't a clinical kiss. It was deep and possessive. Her orange lipstick stained his lips. She made a soft sound in the back of her throat and wrapped her arms around his neck. The fear in the room evaporated, replaced by a heat that had nothing to do with the overhead lights. Donna and Nika moved in closer. They were no longer scientists. They were women who had finally caught the prize they had been dreaming of. Sammy led them to the soft, raised platform at the back of the lab. It was designed for medical observations, but it served a much better purpose now. The lab coats were the first things to go. Underneath, the women were all curves and purple silk. Sammy was a man of action. He didn't waste time with flowery words anymore. He took charge of the room. "Who's first?" he asked, his voice low and husky. Salen didn't hesitate. He entered her in one smooth thrust. They both groaned at the sensation, their bodies fitting together perfectly. He began to move, his strokes slow and deliberate at first, then faster and harder. Salen met him thrust for thrust, her legs wrapping around his waist, pulling him deeper. Donna and Nika weren't idle. They moved to either side of Sammy, their hands and mouths exploring his body. The combination of sensations was almost too much. Sammy could feel his control slipping, his needs threatening to overwhelm him. He thrust into Salen one last time, his body shuddering as he climaxed. He collapsed on top of her, his body spent. But the night was far from over. He had 2 more women to satisfy, and he was more than up for the challenge. He rolled off Salen, his eyes already on Donna and Nika, a wicked grin on his face. "Next," he said, his voice still rough with desire. The night was a blur of limbs and lips, of sweat and moans. He took each of them with a ferocity that left them breathless, their bodies trembling with pleasure. He showed them the strength they had been studying, the raw power that made him the most coveted man in the galaxy. And when the sun finally rose, they lay tangled together on the platform, their bodies sated, their minds blown. Saleen rested her head on Sammy's chest. Her long blonde hair was a mess. Her orange lipstick was smeared. "The reports were wrong," she whispered. "Oh?" Sammy asked. He was running a hand over Donna's hip while Nika traced the scars on his back. "What did they get wrong?" "They said you were optimal," Salen said. "They should have said you were addictive." "I get that a lot," Sammy admitted. "We cannot let you leave," Nika said. Her voice was quiet, but it wasn't a threat anymore. It was a plea. "If you go, the initiative will just send another team, or the Vorians, or the Kroll. Everyone wants you, Sammy." Sammy sat up. He looked at the 3 of them. They were brilliant scientists. They were beautiful, and they were clearly terrified of losing him to a galaxy that viewed him as a commodity. "I'm not going to allow anyone to catch me again," Sammy said, "and I'm not staying in this lab." "Then what do we do?" Donna asked. Sammy stood up and started pulling on his pants. "We leave. Together." The women looked at each other in shock. "My ship is still at the refueling station," Sammy said. "It's the fastest thing in this quadrant. But it needs upgrades. It needs the kind of tech you have here. Most of all, it needs a crew that knows how to hide from the rest of the galaxy." "You want us to desert the initiative?" Salen asked. "I want us to survive," Sammy said. He leaned down and cupped her face. "You want to study my DNA? Fine. You can do it while we're crossing the outer rim. You bring your tools. You bring your warp suppression tech. We'll turn the Wanderer's Det into a ghost ship that no one can catch." "We would be outlaws," Nika said, though she was already standing up and looking at her equipment. "We'd be free," Sammy corrected, "and I'm a very protective man. No one is going to touch you while I'm around, and no one is going to touch me unless I want them to." He looked at them with a smirk. "So are you in, or do you want to wait for the next specimen to show up?" Salen stood up. She straightened her open lab coat, then began to walk toward a large, glowing computer core. "Donna, start the data transfer. Nika, gather the portable generators. We will need the cloaking field from the research bay." "Nope," Sammy said, pointing to a large crate. "Package the heavy stuff first. We're leaving in 20 minutes. The three women moved with a new sense of purpose. They were no longer subordinates to a galactic initiative. They were a team. An hour later, the Wanderer's Det sat in the hangar of the Leia research vessel. The three scientists had managed to bypass the security protocols using their high-level clearances. They had loaded crates of forbidden technology into the cargo hold of the human ship. Sammy sat in the pilot's seat. He felt the familiar hum of the engines beneath him. But this time the ship felt different. It felt heavier. It felt more powerful. Salen sat in the co-pilot's chair. Donna and Nika were at the engineering stations behind them. "The Leia fleet will track us once they realize we're gone," Salen warned. "Let them try," Sammy said. He engaged the new warp drive enhancements they had stolen. "With your tech and my flying, we'll be halfway to the Andromeda border before they even finish their morning coffee." He looked at the three purple-skinned women who had changed his life. He felt a surge of protectiveness. He was no longer just a man running from his own shadow. He had a crew. He had a purpose. "The galaxy is a big place," Sammy said, his hands moving over the controls with expert precision. "And they're all going to be looking for us. But they've never seen a human pilot with Leia technology before." "Where are we going first?" Donna asked. Sammy grinned as the stars began to stretch into the long, beautiful lines of warp speed. "Somewhere quiet," Sammy said. "I think we still have some research to finish." The ship vanished into the blackness of space, leaving the alien Reproduction initiative far behind. Sammy Karen was still the most wanted man in the galaxy. But for the first time in his life, he didn't mind being the prize. Not when the hunters had become his most loyal allies. The Wanderer's Det roared into the unknown, a flicker of human silver and Leia purple against the eternal dark. They were free, they were dangerous, and they were together. Expanded and exclusive Sci-Fi Continuum stories are available as ebooks. Links in the description.